something to say.
Hello everybody and welcome to Project Shadow, episode 553. Go power people. How's everybody doing out there? I think I should explain something. Yes, for those of you who have recently started getting the episodes of Project Shadow, you'll notice that the feed suddenly jumps in count. Yeah, what happened was I was originally doing about 8 different podcasts, and I decided to merge them all together. And instead of adding all the episode numbers together, I decided to pick up where Fandom today left off in episode count, because I'd already done, I think, 5 or 6 Project Shadows, and kind of bring it all together into one podcast, and that's why the number changed. So, for everybody who asked, now you know. Sorry I didn't do any other episodes last week. Last week was a thing, man. And that's actually kind of the way I want to start this, is I stressed out a lot because I kept looking through feeds to find stuff to talk to you about, because I felt that what this show was about what's going on in the news. And this has been something that's been really hard for me to get over. And I'm kind of doing that. I do have some news stories to talk to you guys about today. We'll get into that in just a minute. But for those of you who are familiar with me from the conventions, think about this as either one of my panels from a convention, or it's what happens after dark, except for probably not quite as blue, because I want to keep my clean tag at iTunes and the like. So it's going to be kind of a PG-rated version of what you would expect to hear from me at a convention. So I think by getting a thought like that into my head about what this podcast is, it's going to be a lot easier for me to do it, and I'm not going to feel as much pressure that I have to actually be excited about things that I'm not. One of the other things that I really need to bring out right now is I was going over our feed numbers, and thank you to everybody who stayed loyal over the years. You guys are awesome. This podcast has been through hell and back, and it's only here because you guys keep asking me to do it. I mean, I really love doing it, but given the way my life's been going and my schedule and everything, it's been difficult for me to fit it in, especially with the fact that I used to do a lot of blogging that went along with it and everything. But, you know, I do this for you guys, and I was really scared when I put the first episode out last week, because I didn't know if anybody would still be there other than the people that had been asking for me to bring it back. And to see the numbers that popped up, man, you guys are the greatest audience ever, and I thank you so much for sticking around and waiting around. And maybe you were one of the ones, like the others, hoping and wishing and praying that the episodes would come back. And I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you. I also wanted to take a minute to ask, if you have been a subscriber for a very long time, please go to projectshadow.com and resubscribe. As you know, we've had problems with feeds in the past, and one of the things that I noticed is some of you are still using feeds that have technically been dead for the last about 4 or 5 years. And I mean, I'm still supporting them, but I have a very kludgy system in place to ensure that episodes still go out on those old feeds, because I changed the platforms that I use to do the show. So it would be a lot easier, plus it would be a lot better for me because I'd have all of my stats in one place. So if you would be ever so kind to go to projectshadow.com and resubscribe to the episodes, that would mean the world to me. Thank you. Thank you all. So, lots going on right now. I wanted to start with the fact that there's been a lot of Emmy talk going on. And I should premise this by saying I am decabled. I have been a cable cutter for many years. A lot of you guys know that. And so I don't know if the Emmys have actually aired or not, but I saw this post the other day about what had been nominated for an Emmy, and I saw that The Normal Heart had been. And I just wanted to take a moment to say, yes, Yes. Give it all the awards. Every award. Any award that it could be nominated for, it should be nominated for, and it should win. This, as those of you who know me very, very well, you know that I'm a huge fan of Larry Kramer to begin with. But this movie is so well done. It is so moving. It is just heartbreaking. I don't know how they actually got Matt Bomer to look as decrepit as he does throughout the movie. There's just so much. Like, it should win Best Special Effects. Because there are things in the movie as you're watching people. Because for those of you who don't know, The Normal Heart is about the initial onslaught of AIDS in New York. And the rise and eventual fall of gay men's health crisis. And everything that went along with that. And so several of the characters that you're going to be watching throughout the movie are going to, of course, contract AIDS. And the wasting, I don't know how they did it. I really don't know how they did it because, just thinking about it through sheer logistics, there wasn't enough time for the actors to either lose the weight to do the scenes or gain the weight for the scenes where they're healthy. I mean, I can't believe that any of these actors would have lost enough weight to look as sick as they do throughout it. I mean, the whole show is so good. The acting is incredible. The script, amazing. This is one of those events that I don't really care if you're into, the history of the LGBT movement or anything like that. It's just an amazing story of watching one family. Because in a way, that's kind of what it breaks down to, is one family coming to terms with not only that a member of the family is gay, but with their outspokenness that they are normal. It's an amazing film. It moved me. If you haven't seen it, definitely see it. It's on HBO. It is worth all the time, effort, energy, money, awards. It's one of the best things I've seen in the last I don't know how many years. As I said, I am decabled, so I don't watch things on the same schedule as a lot of people do, especially not on the schedule that they come out. I'm one of those people that I like to marathon things, and there's certain shows that I feel benefit from marathoning, and Dominion was one of them. I finally got through to the end of season 1 of Dominion, and I have really mixed feelings about this show. I love the actors that are in it. That's one of the reasons why I watched it. I did not like Legion, the movie that it's very loosely inspired by, to the point where I'm sure that was just a marketing ploy that they used to convince the network that it was a halfway decent idea to go forward with. But the show, here's the problem with this show and a lot of sci-fi shows. And I don't mean like sci-fi channel shows, I just mean if you're doing a sci-fi fantasy show in general. One, I feel like they had an idea of what they wanted to do, and they had come up with a 10 to 12 episode arc because they thought they would be able to get a mini, a half season for it as a trial. And what happened was the Sci-Fi Channel gave them 8. I can't say for sure because I've never seen anywhere where this has been mentioned that that's what happened. But it felt like there was a lot of story packed into these 8 episodes to the point where I almost felt like I was missing something, that like something was supposed to happen between these 2 events that didn't, but they had to get to where they wanted to get. And it's a very plot-driven show on account of that. And that is one of the things that made the show feel a little thin for me, is I wanted to know more about the characters. But I think that that's one of the most valuable things about this show, is that I wanted to know more about the characters. I hope this show gets a second season. I don't know if it will. Its ratings are down, at least the public ratings that we get access to, which is people that still watch with the little box that flickers and you have to show up at an appointed time that some person thought in their divine wisdom was the right time to watch a show. So, I mean, those ratings are down. so I don't know exactly what, how the show did with cord cutters like me. I mean, it hasn't even gone up on Hulu yet, and I actually was interested enough from the pilot. I thought the pilot was intriguing enough. I bought it through iTunes to watch the whole series as it came out, and I'm glad that I did that. But I think that there's so much more that they could do with this show. I think the setup is interesting, if not a bit clunky. I think the fact that they keep mentioning the Judeo-Christian Bible is a problem for the show. And if they would have... Because they keep... One of the themes of the show is that the stories that we have inherited aren't exactly the stories that are true. And I kind of wish they would have actually gone more for... gone broader with it and actually brought in more of the Sumerian legends. And maybe, I know it might have confused some people, but instead of referring to themselves as angels as they do on the show, maybe have the humans refer to them as angels and have them refer to themselves as Sukalin or something like that from the more Sumerian mythology. Because the show, for me, felt much more Zoroastrian, or even just, more Akkadian, as far as the mythos that it was actually drawing from, even if it was not consciously self-aware of that. And I think it would have made for a bit more depth and would have made it a little bit more interesting if they had shown a broader source base for the series. There's a lot of little tips, little tweaks and stuff that I would have done if I would have done it, but of course I'm not the person, I'm not the showrunner for the show, so I don't get to make those decisions. But all in all, if you haven't seen Dominion, I think it's a show well worth watching. I'm assuming eventually it will be up on Hulu or Netflix, given that monstrous, 30 to 90 day, 6-month delay or whatever they have built in now. It may actually be up on the Sci-Fi, watch it on the Sci-Fi Channel thing that doesn't work very well. But if you can watch it, I definitely would stick it out. I think there are interesting characters there. There are interesting themes in the show. I think it could actually do something if given a chance to develop. But I almost feel like the problem with the show is I felt more like I was watching a first draft. It's kind of like the first season of Babylon 5, where I felt that I was watching a first draft of a show rather than what the show could eventually become. If that makes any sense. I think the same thing could be said of a show like Star Trek The Next Generation. I think the first season of that was, you could kind of see the potential of it, but that potential wasn't realized quite at the beginning. And I'm not saying that this will necessarily become a show that good or that great, but I think that there is a good chance that if given the opportunity to develop some of the storylines and some of the plots that they've built up, this show could become something really interesting, even more than it already is. I think it's worth watching. I hate to be talking about it like, well, season 2 will be great, but it was worth watching. I wasn't disappointed that I spent the time watching it. It was definitely worth watching as a marathon, because watching it all together, it really fit together in a decent way. But I felt that it needed a little bit more character development than it had. And it was also really nice to see the Sci-Fi Channel experimenting with things. I mean, this show has this is for adults only warning on it. I think this is their attempt to try to do their own Game of Thrones kind of a thing, because, there is, they say nudity, that you see butts in this movie. There are a lot of butts in this movie, and there is some cursing in it, which I don't mind. I think that makes it much more realistic, because I know very few people that do not cuss. I know a lot of people that say they don't, but if you hang around them enough, they do. Definitely check it out. I hope it gets renewed. I would love to see more of it. I think it could really, really become something amazing. Charlie from Emergency Awesome, which, if you're not watching that channel on YouTube, it's one of my new favorites. Like, I discovered him a little while back, and he's just awesome. He does Game of Thrones, comic book stuff. He does all kinds of sci-fi fantasy videos. He's really, really entertaining and really informative, which I like. So definitely check him out. But anyway, on his Twitter channel the other day, at Awesome Emergency, he tweeted that they have changed the name of Season 3, Episode 5 of Arrow from Oracle to The Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke. And this really makes me wonder if we are right or wrong. Because I know for me, as soon as I saw that, I got really excited. I was like, Felicity is Oracle. They are doing it. I've been calling it since Season 1. Yeah, they're finally going to go there. They're finally going to do it. And I don't know if they're trying to pull back on that and because that's not where they're taking her, or if they just went, oh, well, that episode title was way too obvious and kind of leaked it first to get fanboys like me excited and then pulled it back so that when the episode airs, it's The Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke. And, well, the people that are not eating up every little bit of content coming out from Arrow and watching, the Stephen Amell videos and stuff, those of us that are just lapping up everything Arrow that they can get are more excited about it, because it is a much more exciting episode if you don't know who Oracle is, to see the secret origin of Felicity Smoke. But I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this season to start. Arrow has surprised me. It is one of my favorite shows on TV, and I did not think that would be possible because Green Arrow, not a character that I love. I think I've talked about that on the show before. But I am really excited to see where this goes, because that could completely be with the awesome. Well, the Power Rangers movie got a release date. It's going to be released in July 2016, July 22nd, 2016 to be exact. And I don't know why I am so excited about this, but I am really excited about this. This may be Andre from Black Nerd Comedy's fault, because he was so excited, and maybe I caught the contagion of his excitement, because I never was a huge Power Rangers fan. My oldest niece, was really into the Power Rangers, and so I have a lot of familiarity with the Power Rangers. I took her to see the movie in theaters. And so, I've seen quite a bit of the original Power Rangers. I worked at a costume shop over the Halloweens that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was really at its peak. And so I had to learn a lot about Power Rangers because, kids would come in and say, I want a Tommy costume. And I had to ask, well, do you want the green or the white? I had to learn exactly what to do, what to say and how to interpret this. So I do have a lot of, I ended up accumulating quite a bit of knowledge about the Power Rangers. But I think what excites me about this the most, this might be the best way to say it, is that I am a huge fan of this kind of, group monster fighting thing. I mean, I grew up loving Voltron, which is why I think that, Voltron kind of leads to this. It's in that same genre. And I've been wanting a Voltron movie for a long time, and I never thought that you could actually do a good movie with giant killer robots in it until I saw Pacific Rim. And to those of you Pacific Rim haters out there, dude, give it a chance. It's a great movie. It's not a change your life movie. It's not a, open your eyes to see the world in a new way movie. It is a fun movie that does exactly what it's supposed to do. And having had that experience for the first time, finally, thank you, Guillermo del Toro, I think about what an original American Power Rangers movie could be like. And I hope it keeps the humor and all of that the original had, because I think that would be really fun. So it'd be kind of the not so serious Pacific Rim. But the idea of what we could do without having to rely on the Japanese footage and to have the budget that hopefully this film will have, that's kind of a really nifty thing. I really want to see how this works, and I hope it's successful because I want my Voltron movie. I really do. And maybe that's what excites me about this is kind of that stepping stone to me getting my Lion Force Voltron movie that I desperately need, just in the fiber of my being. I need that movie. Not as much as I need a live-action Robotech movie, or just any more Robotech forever. But I'm really excited about this, and I would love to hear what you guys think. I've had a few really interesting conversations about this on social media, and I'm really curious what you guys think. Please leave a comment on the show notes and let me know, because I would love to hear your hopes and fears for the upcoming Power Rangers movie. I think it could be a good thing. For those of you writers out there, and I know there are some, I posted a link in the show notes to a wonderful Wired article called from the What's Up With That blog. Why is it so hard to catch your own typos? I don't want to go into this in any great detail. Read it. It's a great post, because I would end up just kind of reading the post. But if you, like me, are so frustrated that, I know part of my problem is that I'm quasi-dyslexic, and I write words backwards all the time and I don't see it. I have invented weird contractions in my head that I type, and I don't see that it's a contraction. And luckily I've got a better team around me that are helping me find those. But this is a really interesting explanation about why you need an editor in some ways. If you look at my Twitter feed for today, you'll see a very interesting article about why your editor is the Antichrist that was written by somebody else. I think it was J.C. Hutchins. No, it's not really that bad, but I really thought it was worth sharing. As I'm working on a lot of the stories that I'm working on right now, and that you'll be hearing me talk about more on this podcast and other places, I find myself thinking a lot about what is it that I want. And I posted something over to the R. Solemn Hour blog about medievalism, feudalism, and power in epic science fiction and fantasy. And it's something that I've really been trying to get a hold on myself, because there are so many different ways that you can go with it. There's part of me that wants to just get rid of it altogether. When I first named the R. Solemn Hour project, I was very adamant that I was not going to do any kings or princes, and I was going to completely eschew that idea of medievalism in its entirety. But the more I've thought about it, I started contemplating maybe doing kind of an Elizabethan kind of thing, because I think that would be an interesting epoch to kind of explore in this kind of a epic sci-fi fantasy thing that I'm doing. But, I had a good conversation with Dan, whose last name shall remain a secret until he gives me permission to actually link to his account. I had a good conversation with Dan at Shore Leave that changed my mind about a lot of this. We were talking about Game of Thrones and some of my problems that I had with the books and with George R. R. Martin and what he was doing. And it's a matter of philosophy that makes me not so much a fan of his, though I am contemplating going back and reading the books after this conversation. And he explained to me how Martin was deconstructing the genre and this, that, and the other. And it really, he framed it in a way that made the books and what's going on there a little bit more interesting. But, I'm still not completely sold. For me, what it breaks down to is, one, these make for very good handles for readers, because when I say Dark Lord, you know what that means. When I say, Princess, you know what that means. That comes with a certain amount of baggage that I can just either subvert, or, if it's a very minor character, you can just have an image in your head very easily. It's a very easy way to communicate a complex idea in a very short form. That's why tropes come into being. But the more I thought about this, the more I kind of come around to the idea that feudalism as a political system is something that never really went away. And what you see is kind of a neo-feudalism, where we kind of have this three-tiered power structure now, where you have, the corporations controlling the politicians, which then make the laws that govern us. And it's not actually the people that are in power that are in power. And that's something that might be interesting to explore, and for sake of saving many pages, that a concept like that might be easiest or best explored through using some kind of a monarchy or some kind of other feudal construct in a story. And I'm not sure how I want to go with that. But I wanted to bring it up for you guys because the conversations that I have with you all are really helpful in helping me make some of these really tough decisions. So I would love to know what you think. Leave a note in the comments. That'll mean the world to me. Also, while I'm working on this, I came across this link the other day from Club Jade to an article about how, at least in video games, they ignore women. And this is something that I've never quite understood. There's been a lot of, I've talked about this a lot over the years, and at Shore Leave we had a really good panel discussion on this very topic, that for some reason there is a thought in the marketing world that women don't buy stuff, which is insane. I don't understand that. That it's only... but for some reason, people actually believe this. And so I wrote up a post over at Project Shadow kind of exploring this, and also trying to explore, what to do about it. I'm trying to incorporate more women into the books that I write, and especially into the new setting that I'm coming out. In fact, one of the stories that I'm working on, one of the books that I'm working on, has the protagonist is a woman. And I'm very excited about that, because that's been something very hard for me to do, and that deals with my own gender issues, which that's a whole other podcast. So if you want me to get into that, let me know, and I will schedule a time to have that talk. But I think it's ludicrous, because I know for myself, my last original book, The Chain, I wrote it. It is about gay men at a drag club and in a supernatural horror setting, and predominantly my fan base is heterosexual females and lesbians. And I did not expect that. I did not expect that at all. And it's one of those things that yet again shows, the vast majority of my fan base are female. And I don't know if that says something about me or if that says something about the market, but it's something that I've always tried to honor in as many ways as I possibly can. And I don't understand why other companies don't. But I would love to know your experiences with this, because it would go a long way in helping me to understand and articulate this, especially when I'm at events with other authors, writers, publishers, and things of that nature, that it helps me tell your stories to them, because I can only speak out of my own experience unless I have an anecdote to share. So definitely, please, if you have an experience that would be important or helpful, or you just need to get off your chest, leave a comment, hit me up on one of the social networks, send me an email, let me know, because it really, it's such a strange issue, and it's so far outside of the way that I perceive the world. I can't understand how other people think that way. And since I am not a biological female, I have not experienced it in that way. So, definitely hit me up. The quickest way to send me an email is to just head over to Project Shadow and click the Ask Me Anything. That actually just sends an email to me. That's one of the quickest ways to contact me if you just want to do a direct contact. Yeah, I don't understand people sometimes. It gets really, really weird. The world is weird. I think that's why I like it so much. I don't know, maybe that's just me. If you do have any questions or comments that you want to leave for me, head over to projectshadow.com and click the Ask Me Anything and put your question in there. Your question may end up on the blog. It may end up on the podcast. It may just be answered on social media where you can ask me questions. I'm on Twitter, Facebook. I'm on Twitter a lot. I like Twitter. Google Plus, which I like a bit more than Facebook, but I do both. If you are going to hit me up on Facebook, go to the Project Shadow page on Facebook. There, find links to that at projectshadow.com. That's probably the easiest thing to get in touch with me there, because I'm not the hugest fan of Facebook. But then again, who is? If you are a fan of Facebook, contact me. Let me know why, because I know they're out there and I would like to know more. If you like the show and you'd like to keep it coming to you, and, well, if you just want to help me out, if you want to show your support, consider becoming a patron of mine over at patreon.com/CEDorset. There you can find information about the different reward levels that I've set up. If there's a reward that you would like that's not listed on there, use that Ask Me Anything to ask why that particular thing isn't a reward. And you never know, it might be. I'm really excited about this. It's something that I'm trying as an experiment. I'm just setting it up. It's my way of going directly to you guys. Instead of setting up a Kickstarter and asking for money for a particular project, I figure, if you've got a couple bucks to spare that you can, throw into the hopper every month to help keep this content coming to you, both the podcasts and the stories, and if I can get my act together, the YouTube channel that you guys have asked for some strange reason. Sorry, that's really hard for me to wrap my head around. Head over to patreon.com/CEDorset and become a patron over there. It's quick, it's easy. You can see the rewards, and you can cancel at any time. It's just it's an easy way for you to help me out and to help me keep my content coming to you. I will also say that if I haven't figured out what the actual reward level, what the actual goal level is going to be, but I'm also hoping that if we can reach a certain level, that this will help me keep my stories free for everybody. So if you like reading the stories over at Wattpad and want to help keep that free for everybody, and the stories that are going to be going up on the website, do consider becoming a patron. Consider supporting me, because your love and support means the world to me, and anything that we can do to break the addiction that I have to Amazon.com for money, that's a good thing. So thank you all so very, very much. I will talk to you all real soon. Hopefully this will become daily again, now that I've kind of reframed it in my head. Oh man, have the fun.